Oh, hello people, and welcome to another City Skylines patch update video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today on the 31st of January, patch 1.0.19 dropped and brings with it a massive list of gameplay fixes, alongside some performance and some graphical tweaks as well. Let's find out exactly what's changed, shall we? So I'll leave a link down below to the full patch notes if you're interested in reading this for yourself. There is a ton of gameplay fixes, some more important than the other, so I'm not going to cover all of them because there's literally loads of them, but we'll touch on some of the more important ones. There has been a fix for maintenance vehicles getting stuck on your roads, which should now help reduce some traffic jams you experience across the city. There has also been some fixes for those forgotten dogs that you might be seeing around your city as well. There has also been a lot of statistic fixes and improvements, whereas a stat such as age demographics not being shown correctly and garbage and public transport fees also not being recorded in statistics. So if you're interested in tracking the stats of your city, they now should be a little bit more accurate after this patch. There's also been some improvements to the land value mechanic now, where land value will now be affected to ground pollution. It will start to slowly reduce the land value increasing, and when the pollution gets to a certain threshold, it will then start to decrease the land value. And the land value will also increase according to the industrial company's profitability value as well. There has also been improvements made to the parking space searching, so Sims should no longer just aimlessly drive around searching for parking spaces when they're quite obviously available. The spawn rates for teens and children has been changed to balance the lack of teens in the education system. And also the probability for Sims entering the high school has been increased as well. Cargo stations have had their pathfinding updated to reduce traffic jams when accessing the building. Not something I've had a massive issue with, but I know for larger population cities, the traffic jams forming outside of the cargo hubs has been an issue, so you should now see this slightly improved. Now moving on to the performance part of the patch, they have added a school seeker countdown to avoid too many pathfinding queries when the city doesn't have enough schools. They've also improved shadow culling optimization. Supposedly, there are now faster and more stable simulation speeds in very large cities. We're going to go ahead and load into the 1 million population city provided by Dell in the official Cities 2 Discord. That'll be linked down below if you also want to come and test the 1 million population city. And there's also been some optimization around pathfinding as well. So this is Auburn Hills. Massive shout out to Dell in the official City Skylines Discord for sharing this city. You would have also seen it featured on Biffa's channel as well in a little collab with Linus Tech Tips, which was super cool. Head over to Biffa's channel to check that out. But we'll check out the simulation speed. Again, apparently this patch has optimized this a little bit better, so I'll also pop my specs up on screen if you're interested in seeing what they are. It's a pretty powerful machine. It's not top of the range, but still pretty decent. But we'll check out some of the simulation speed here. Bearing in mind this population is 1 million. So an absolutely enormous city. And there's just simulation speed for you. Still pretty. Because I mean, two of those bloody trams down there, so loud. But that gets patched soon. Those tram noises are ridiculous. But there's an example of people walking down the street for you. This is 1 speed, 2 speed, and 3 speed. So the simulation speed controls don't really make a difference at this size of a city. So if you're planning on getting up to the higher end of the populations into very high 6 figures or 7 figures, you're still going to need an absolute monstrous PC to run something like that. You can see here just how slow it is. This guy doing the U-turn in the road is essentially a slideshow at this point. So where the patch does claim to have helped this simulation speed at much higher populations, it's obviously going to vary quite significantly based on what sort of setup you have. But for me here, I'm running a 3070 with 64 gig of RAM. It is essentially still a slideshow at 1 million population for me. Coming on to the graphics part of the patch, snow has been added onto imposters, which is brackets trees, and they've also changed the outline colour and fill colour of districts for better visibility, which is actually quite nice. I always found them a bit kind of dull. They're a much more distinctive blue colour now, so much easier to see your districts. The colours of bus stops and mailbox markers have also been changed. They're kind of a more turquoisey blue colour now than they were before. which apparently has been adjusted for better visibility in bright snow, and also road and rail shadows have been tweaked to be less aggressive. There's also been some bugs fixed in the form of the visibility distance calculation, which was mostly affecting power cable shadows during certain camera angles, so you should now be able to see those power cables a little bit more clearly. And there's also been a fix for terraforming, propping and pedestrian access for multiple assets. There was an issue as some buildings would upgrade, they would start to flash for pedestrian access along the back of them, when it really wasn't feasible to give road access to that particular point. And there's also been some fix for floating props on the technical university asset. So there really is a massive list of gameplay kind of fixes here. Some of these will have more impact than others. Again, we've all kind of suffered different experiences with the bugs, haven't we? So how useful you find some of these fixes is going to vary from person to person, I think. While we're also talking about this update, I'd also like to take a moment to look at the word of the week that came out this week as well. So in this week's word of the week, they mentioned that we might remember the free updates associated with the DLC releases in Cities 1. An example of this is the approach with After Dark, where the free update added the day-night cycle to all players, and then the DLC itself kind of expanded upon that day-night cycle, obviously with its tourism features and, you know, policies, so places staying open all hours, etc. They're planning to also do that again with Cities 2 as DLC comes out. There will sort of be free elements of that DLC that everyone can take advantage of, where the DLC will then expand upon that free element as well. They then go on to say that the latest patch will talk about improvements to land value, which we've touched on earlier in this video, alongside the incineration plant having an extra incinerator would actually cause it to produce less electricity. That has also been patched as well. However, the most interesting thing, and the reason why I wanted to touch on the word of the week here, is at the end of the blog it goes on to say that the devs at Colossal Order are fully focusing on improving Cities 2 after patch 1.0.19 is out, which is the one that dropped today. And then actions speak louder than words, so we're going to pause these weekly posts and be back when we cover the content of the next patch release for the game. So word of the week is no longer word of the week. I'm guessing it's going to be word of the month now, and they're now going to coincide with each patch. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I think really the CEO should have been taken away from these words of the week, and it should have been given to a dedicated community manager. It's widely known now, the things the CEO has said, it's kind of been turned into a bit of a meme, but I think cutting communications off and only releasing them in line with the patches isn't the way to go. We just need a dedicated community manager to speak to each week. And we also haven't talked about this since our last update video, so I'll mention it while we're here. In Word of the Week 9, the one before last week, it was confirmed that the public beta version of code modding and paradox mods will be available in the live build by the end of March, which is essentially 2 months away from the time of this recording. Map editing will be available soon after that, and they expect the modding beta to end in the finished fall, which is a full year after the release of the game. This didn't go down particularly well, as you can imagine, on the forum posts and on Reddit and in general YouTube comments, that they don't expect to be out of the modding beta until the end of autumn, which is quite far away from now, isn't it? So that does it for Cities 2's first update of the year, and I don't suspect we'll get another patch now until the mods come out, which is another 2 months away. That's just my assumption, that's not confirmed, but based on how long it's taken for this list of gameplay and performance streaks to come, I can't imagine we'll get anything else now until the mods come out. I think everyone's going to get different mileage out of this patch. For me, a lot of these gameplay fixes haven't really impacted my experience with the game, so it's not a massively game-changing patch for me. Edinburgh's economy has gone insane again. It's making, like, what was it earlier in the video, like 12 million or something from office tax, so this patch has definitely shifted the economy balance to be a little more ridiculous than it was even before. And of course the decision now for the word of the week to essentially go to word of the month and only coincide with these patches is a little bit disappointing. I just think we needed a community manager to talk to us, not the CEO to totally stop talking to us, if you know what I mean. Let me know what you think of this one, and indeed if there's anything in these patch notes that you've really been struggling with and you're super thankful to see that it's been fixed now. I'm really disappointed to still not see a fix for the pillars going over the placed seaways. That's still a huge issue that a previous fix actually broke because they added more pillars and now you can't build over seaways. Super annoying that that hasn't been fixed this time around. But either way, let me know what you think about this patch, and indeed how much you think it's going to impact your experience. Whether or not you've been suffering from a lot of these gameplay bugs, or very little of them. But either way, we will keep up to date with all the Cities 2 updates as they drop. You guys really enjoyed the last one, so we'll keep doing them and keep up to date with how the game is changing and evolving as it continues to find its feet in the city building space. Otherwise, massive shout out to all the patrons supporting the channel. Don't forget to come check out our Cities 2 series Edinburgh if you're interested in catching some more Cities 2 content on the channel. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.